This is the 2025 Cupra Terramar. Now that's a cool name already, isn't it? And just look at this thing, it's oozing character and style. This effectively is the sexy version of the Volkswagen Tiguan, and I think actually makes for quite a compelling option. But with competition in this sector hotting up with the rivals such as the Kia Sportage and the Hyundai Tucson, which are now fan favourites, does this do enough to get you by in 2025? I'm going to take you on a full tour of the car to find out, and take it out on the road for a spin and see what you think. So then, the Cupra Terramar. The one that I have here today is the top spec first edition trim at around £52,000, and that's pretty much the top of the range with a couple of options, maybe sort of 54, 55, but these start from around £38,000. I'm going to break down the trims for you very briefly, but it's worth having a look on the configurator. Basically, you've got V1 and V2 are your entry trims with the kind of less powerful engines, then you've got VZ1, VZ2 are your top trims with your kind of more powerful engines, and then you've got this first edition and America's Cup edition, which are kind of special edition versions with a few extra bits on as well. So the V1 and V2 model, quite generously spec to standard, start from around 38 grand. 18-inch alloys, ambient lighting, triple zone climate control, large cockpit display and infotainment display across the range, electric tailgate across the range, bucket seats in an upcycled yarn textile, which is really good, and a rear camera. And those ones you can get either a 1.5 mild hybrid, 150 horsepower, 2-litre turbo, 4-wheel drive, 204 horsepower, or a 1.5 plug-in hybrid, 204 horsepower. They all come with a dual clutch gearbox, but the hybrid ones are 6-speed, whereas the petrol ones are 7-speed. And there are no diesel options, unfortunately. I think possibly the sweet spot in the range for most people will be the V2 trim at around 40 grand. That comes with upgraded 19-inch alloys and an eco-friendly suede material, heated seats, 360 cam, and also a kind of advanced lane assist feature with park assist and all that good stuff, so more driver assistance features. And again, you can get those with those entry-level engines. And the VZ1 and VZ2, effectively you just get options like dynamic chassis control as standard and the matrix LEDs with animations and upgraded leather and head-up display and stuff like that. And they come with more spicy engines, so you get a 2-litre turbo, 4-wheel drive, 265 horsepower, or this one I have here, which is a 1.5 plug-in hybrid, 272 horsepower. Now the plug-in hybrids get around 70 miles, they say, on electric range. I found it more to be like around 50, but it is still better than some of the competition. And a combined, they say, 650 to 660 mpg, which obviously take with a pinch of salt. It really depends on the driving conditions with the plug-in hybrid. And the petrol ones between sort of 35 and 45 mpg. It's a shame they've done away with diesel, but I do understand it. If you're looking for a diesel in this sort of price range and class, it's worth looking at the Mazda CX-60 because it comes with a buttery smooth 3.3 litre straight 6 diesel, which I reviewed last week in a Mazda CX-80, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, I'm not going to go too in depth with the specs because there is so much to choose from, but I just want to show you around this car because this looks absolutely fantastic in this dark void metallic paint, which is optional. It's kind of like a really deep purple with a sort of grey metallic flake to it. You probably won't be able to pick it too much up on camera in this condition, and bear in mind as well, we just had some really dusty rain last night, so the car's not in the best shape, but overall I think it looks fantastic. This new design from Cupra with this triangular front light, so those are the LEDs that change into the hazards as well, and you've also got a new front grille and lip area. And also, I just want to appreciate the private plate on this one from Cupra Media, the plate that says Terramar. It's really cool. So overall, it's quite a nice shape and size, I would say. The styling I do really enjoy, and especially in this specification, this being one of the top trims. So I just think this paint absolutely pops in the sun. It looks fantastic, and it's quite subtle as well, which I really do enjoy. You've got at the back a light bar that goes across the whole rear of the car, which I will demonstrate as well. And it does have lighting animations on these higher end models. And then down the bottom, you've got a kind of fake rear diffuser, which I don't mind. It looks kind of okay, and you do get exhaust on some models. But overall, I just like the sharp, angular styling. It looks really aggressive, really angry, and really sporty. It's got a nice wide stance to it. It looks really chunky, a bit like the Ateca in a way. And the fitment is quite nice on these wheels as well. These have Sport Contact 6 from factory, and you can see you've got a nice brake setup there and this kind of copper accent on these wheels. They don't all come with the copper wheels, but these ones do look really good on this model, and you can get some copper as an upgrade on some trims as well. But overall, I just think this car looks fantastic. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below, but I do like the direction that Cupra is going because, yeah, they've changed the front end of all of their cars now, and I do think they really do look the part. Although it is obviously based on the Tiguan underneath and shares a lot of the tech, it's just so different, and the interior is very different as well. So let's move on and show you that. I've moved over into the shades just so we can get a proper interior tour for you of this car. So I'm going to step into the front and show you what it's all about. Now, as you step inside, you can see we have this nice ambient lighting that runs all the way across the top of the dash, which can be customized, which is really nice. And on these door cards, this nice copper accent which goes all the way along to integrate with the door handle, which I think is really cool. And you've got a little armrest area here with the burgundy leather and your typical Volkswagen Audi Group switchgear and your Sennheiser speaker surrounds. Now, this Sennheiser system really thumps. It's called Immersive by Sennheiser. It's got a massive subwoofer in the back and it really pumps. As we step inside, we've got the Cupra badging on the door there, on the door sill, and you can see this one has the electric memory seat functions with adjustable electric lumbar. And you can also see the mats that are included say that they have some sustainable regenerated nylon materials in, which is always nice to see. There's lots of those tags throughout the car. You can also see one on the seat edge here to say that there are some sustainable materials included in the leathers and that kind of thing. Overall, this one looks really nice with this kind of burgundy leather interior, which is on the higher end trims. Normally you get like a kind of a grey suede and that kind of thing. This one also has the pan roof, which is optional on some models, but on this one it is standard. So let's hop in then and see what it's all about. One thing I will point out is on these newer Volkswagen Audi Group cars, they've changed this back to a physical button, which is nice. It used to be like a touchscreen cluster thing. This is much better. But yeah, I like the vent design. I like the way everything looks in here. So let's hop in and I'll show you a little bit about how everything works. Now, I think this layout is really nice. You've got this kind of angled towards me stance, this infotainment screen, nice and large. And although, yes, it is still the touch sliders for the climate controls, you can now set some things up to be shortcuts. So for example, I'm gonna press start and start the ignition up, and that will bring the infotainment screen to life. And I've set it so that I've just got a one button start, like on and off for the climate controls. And you can go in then and you can kind of customize things as you go. So I'm obviously just going to turn the fan speed down a little bit so that you don't hear it over me talking, but it just goes to show that the layout has changed a little bit, and you can either tap these or slide them, and they are illuminated as well now. I don't particularly like it. I would prefer physical buttons, but this screen has improved a lot over the last couple of years, so I can't complain too much. I'll go through a few of its functions quickly, but it is all quite straightforward. The main thing in here that you want to notice, you've got the sound adjustment for the Sennheiser, which is a really good system, and also you have the charging profiles and modes. So it seems to default to electric mode most of the time when it's plugged in. In this instance, obviously being the plug-in hybrid, you can select hybrid mode and select it to preserve a certain amount of battery as well, so that if you don't want it to kind of go down too much. So I'm going to set that there for the moment. And then you've got your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that good stuff, and your options for ambient lighting, and also your parking camera. The 360 camera on this is really good, really strong. And then you've got your drive mode select as well, which, like I said, you can use this satellite button for here as well. I love this steering wheel. My only little complaint about it is that the volume is on this side and the track skip is on that side. Very minor complaint, to be honest. Loads of physical buttons for everything that you would need, and also you've got a heated steering wheel button here. You've got paddles on the back, which are plastic, but they're quite nice and engaging to use. I just love the design. I love the way it looks. I love the satellite buttons. Really nice. I also wanted to show you just how easy it is to remove the speed warning system on this without going through the infotainment. You press this button here to bring up your safety systems in the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side of the wheel here, you can just scroll down and click to turn off speed warning. Simple as that. And this center screen here, I'm sure you're probably very familiar with from any other Volkswagen Audi Group car, really. There is loads of customization on here, and I mean loads. This will show if there's a device connected. It will show your Apple CarPlay stuff like your directions and your infotainment stuff like your music and that kind of thing. You can also change the view to like a full map view if you want to. You can have map in the middle, you can have full screen map, you can have pretty much whatever you want. Sporty mode there. Like, there's so much customization. So I'm using this button on the steering wheel here to select which portion of the screen that I'm customizing, and then you just use the scroll wheel to change it. So I can have, for example, a G meter on the right hand side there, route guidance, compass. By far and large the best system on the market, I would say, in terms of digital cockpit. Like, Volkswagen Audi Group just do it right, and Cupra especially, the way these graphics are and the way it all looks and the fonts and everything, I particularly like. Quite a nice space up here. Like I said, these seats are quite nice. The plastic part here creaks and groans a little bit. You probably can't hear it, but it is a little bit annoying when you're driving along. But apart from that, it's my only real quality complaint. Everything else feels quite nice, and the kind of sustainable elements are nice too. You've got some space in the center section down here, and you've also got some cup holders and an area for, I don't know, coins or whatever. And you've got your parking brake, traction control off button, your lock for the doors, 2 USB-Cs, and they also give you an adapter for USB-A. Nice little slot for your phone, which fits everything quite nicely. And this is kind of a nice indication of how strong and sturdy this is. And these vents as well have a nice satisfying click to them, and you can adjust them up and down like that. They really look well integrated into the dash, and overall the textures and the quality is nice. I would have liked a slight bit more padding down here, but it's a very minor complaint. Your drive select is literally one of the ID style ones where it's like a twist wheel. Works well enough, and they've integrated the wipers now onto this indicator stalk over here, so it's a little bit to get used to, but I love the way it feels. It's very well damped, and overall I think it is a great system. It's a shame though it doesn't have blind spot cameras like in the Korean rivals, and up here is nice as well. You do have touch sliders for the pan roof, so you slide it forwards and slide it backwards, so it's a little bit of an odd setup, but it works every time I do it. It's a similar affair in the back here. You've got this kind of little cubby area here with some storage, and you've also got the pull tabs to pull the seat right forward if you need to access the back. You've got some reclining adjustment on these seats, which I'll show you in just a moment, and you've also got your triple zone climate control area here and 2 USB-C chargers. You do also have ISOFIX covers back here, but they are definitely the sort that you would lose. They're kind of tucked in a really awkward way. And they come completely out, so I'm not a massive fan of the design of these, but it works fine. So as we hop into the back, we do see that actually you do get a reasonable amount of space back here, although it's not class leading. What it does help definitely is this kind of contour into the back of the seats. It means that even if the seat is quite far back in front of me, it means that I've got a place for my knees to slot into, worst case scenario. And actually it's not too bad in terms of the setup. I've got this set up at 6 foot in front of me in my driving position. So this seat is in its furthest back position, but you can also slide it forwards to enable more space in the rear. And also you do have a little bit of recline. If I pull the side tab here, I can put the seat really upright, or I can get it reasonably far back as well. So there's a little bit of flexibility there. At the moment, this is in its furthest back and most reclined position, and I'd be comfortable here on a longer journey with this little armrest as well. And you do also get a armrest in the center with 2 cup holders. So overall experience back here isn't too bad, although there is a large transmission hump in the middle, so it wouldn't be ideal for a middle passenger. Plus, I think it would be quite cramped back here in terms of the narrow space. But overall, headroom is pretty decent for me, and the seats are comfortable. I wouldn't mind spending some time back here. And in terms of your cargo area, you've got electric tailgate standard across the range, which is a really nice touch. And back here, this being the plug-in hybrid, you do lose some space, and of course you've got your charging cables in here as well, so the cubby holes are kind of taken up by some of that stuff. And then under here you do have kind of a bit of a storage area, but it's kind of taken up by bits and bobs like your amp and your sub and all that kind of thing. So nice kind of flattish load floor though, like the lip is not very substantial at all. And as you can see, it's quite a nice flat open area. And you do also have the 40-20-40 split as well, so it's quite versatile. Now to take this load cover out, pretty simple. Just pop these 2 here. So this just pulls out. I'm going to set that aside for a moment, and then I can show you what it's like if you were to put the rear seats down. You can press this button here to fold just the middle bit, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go straight for doing the seats flat themselves, which you do have to do annoyingly through the side, but you know, it's kind of is what it is. As you can see, we do have a bit of a problem with my driving position here. This is in its furthest back position, so that's not going to go flat. If it's in my driving position, I'd need to really lower these headrests and mess around with it. Let's go and try the other side. So let's just grab the other side, pull that flat. So there we go. You can see that if I was to move my seat, then it will go flat. So yeah, a little bit of a snag there. So after a little bit of rejigging, I can get that down, and you can see it's quite a flat load area. There is a little bit of a slope here, but it's not too bad. And overall, it's a decent cargo space. The only thing to bear in mind is this roof line is a little bit kind of sloping here, so you're not going to be able to get many tall items in the very back portion. For the size of the car, it's a nice usable space. One thing to bear in mind obviously is if you go for the petrol ones, it will be a little bit better, and also the other cars in this price range are just that little bit better in terms of rear versatility. Right, let's go for a 0 to 60 pull. Oh, straight away I had a bit of, oh, there's a lot of torque steer going on, but there we are. I got a bit of a clunk from the front wheel drive system. That's the only thing with the plug-in hybrid, is they are all front wheel drive unfortunately, so you do get that little bit of fidgetiness from the front when you're really giving it some. This is in the sports gearbox mode at the moment as well, so I'm going to put that back into drive. Overall, the power delivery is okay when you're on the move, but obviously off the line, the four-wheel drive petrol models are going to be better for that. I do think they could have worked a little bit on interior refinement. There's definitely quite a lot of tyre noise in here, I guess being the larger wheels, that kind of makes sense. I'm quite comfortable. Driving position I think is really good. I've got reasonable visibility, but the cameras help as well. The door mirrors are a little bit odd. The housings are massive and they're kind of quite far away. So yeah, they're not the best for visibility, but it's okay. It's a very minor complaint. And I also don't like that I don't really have a place to put my elbow over here. The ride itself, in this model I have the dynamic chassis control, which is standard on the higher end trims, and I think you can option it on some of the lower end ones as well, and it does make a difference for sure. Like in the normal comfort mode, you do notice that the car is a little bit more floaty, the steering is kind of a bit more vague, and overall it's just more of a kind of cruising experience. And the driving assistance features aren't too intrusive. You get the speed warning which beeps at you, but it's not very loud, and also you can turn it off so easily, as I showed you before. And when you try and stray from lane, it does kind of vibrate and tug you back to lane. It does get a little bit annoying around little towns sometimes because it tries to steer you into parked cars, but apart from that, it works pretty well. I just wish it did have the one-touch kind of automatic steering features that the Kias and Hyundais do, but on this you can do it with the kind of the cruise control. It's just not quite as easy. And I think plug-in hybrid is starting to make more sense now that the batteries are getting bigger and they're getting more efficient. It says 70 miles of range, but I've averaged around sort of 50 on the electric charge. And it's got enough punch on the electric charge around town, but on the motorway it struggles unless you kick down into the engine. But you can customize it and go into those modes that have the kind of the hybrid. And the only thing is, once you run out of fuel, it's not as powerful, it's a little bit more clunky, and also it only gets around sort of 35 mpg, which in that case you might as well have just bought the petrol model. So in my opinion, the plug-in hybrid only makes sense if you've got a charger at home and you charge regularly and do lots of short trips, or you are using it as a company car and the benefit in kind is worth having for that model. Everything feels tight and polished, and I don't know whether it's just because it looks nicer in here, but I do feel like this feels like a more quality product than a Volkswagen Tiguan as well. I do feel like the Volkswagen kind of scratchy plastic stuff is getting a little bit much now, and in here it doesn't feel like that. Like, I don't know whether it's mainly design that causes that, but it looks and feels nice, and the touch points that I'm interacting with are good, and especially the steering wheel. If you're curious about plug-in hybrid economy, like I said, take it with a pinch of salt. Round town, doing all electric, obviously I've not been using any fuel. When I'm using mainly hybrid and sort of mixed journeys, I've been getting sort of 80 to 90 mpg when it's charged, and when it's not charged at all, around 35 mpg on just the petrol motor. What definitely does make a difference is the dynamic chassis control on this higher end model. So I'm going to switch now. You've got the sport mode and you've got the Cupra mode. I'm going to go for the sportier setting, which puts it into the sport gearbox mode as well. It's firmed everything up a little bit, and it's also made it hang on to those gears that a little bit longer. So let's see how much it's actually changed the handling then. So obviously being front wheel drive, well, I can actually feel the back trying to step out a little bit. It doesn't actually sound too bad either. Like, for a small engine, it could be worse. Overall, I'm quite impressed with how well it holds on and grips, partially because of the tyres and partially just because I think of how the chassis handles itself. Definitely the four-wheel drive petrol version will be the one to go for if you want to do nice easy launches, and that being a lighter car as well, it will be definitely a little bit more agile and definitely a little bit sort of better in the kind of the weight transfer department. But this isn't bad by any means, and the sporty settings definitely make a huge difference in terms of how it drives. Yeah, in terms of the Volkswagen Audi Group cars, this is very characteristic of that. It's got that kind of quite nimble, quite agile, quite tight feeling steering that's not got a massive amount of feel to it. The thing that I would say though is definitely I can feel the weight of this one and the front wheel drive system. There's a little bit of body roll, more than I would like. The plug-in hybrid system works best in comfort mode, and you don't really notice it kicking in and out unless it's out of charge, and then it becomes a little bit jerky. But obviously in this sportier mode, it's kicking in the engine a lot more and the throttle response is much sharper, so you start to feel the car kind of reacting a little bit more. Feels like it could hold its own on a road like this despite the extra weight and the front wheel drive. Only thing that I'm really not too keen on driving this car is the brakes. The brakes are a bit odd. Obviously you're relying in this model a lot on those for the regen, but they feel quite spongy. The bottom is quite odd and they don't feel as responsive as I would like. And the worst part is when you're kind of going low speeds and sitting in traffic and stuff, not only are they quite grabby, but I can feel the pedal pulsing under my foot as if it's assisted. And it just, yeah, it feels a little bit odd and it's a bit disconcerting, to be honest with you. And I do understand it, it's just that I think there are rivals that do it better. But yeah, let's give it some down here. So I'm pacing now down a country road and you can see me being thrown around a little bit. In this kind of sportier setting, it definitely feels like I can feel a bit more of what's going on underneath me, which is nice. And yeah, it feels quite good for the size of the car. I've definitely driven worse, and it's more of an exciting drive than something like a Kia Sportage or a Hyundai Tucson. It's just a shame that the tech isn't quite as exciting as in those. If I flip it back down now into comfort mode, there is also an individual mode that you can customize as well. But yeah, comfort mode, I can straight away feel the car calm down. It puts it into the more electric based mode, and it's just a little bit more subdued. I've definitely got a little bit more flexibility in the body as well when I'm going over these bumps now, so it's nice that it does make that difference. If anything, I think I prefer it in comfort mode, hustling it down this road, because it's just got a little bit more give for the little imperfections, and it's not hanging those gears either like I don't want it to. Yeah, I don't feel engaged with using the paddles, but I think if you had the petrol four-wheel drive model, it'd probably be more exciting. Overall then, I am impressed with the Cupra Terramar. I think it's quite a nice package, and I definitely would take one over a Tiguan just because it's so much more interesting and nice to look at. However, Korean rivals are simpler to choose from in terms of trim, have more tech, longer warranty, and also more hybrid options to choose from. And then, like I said, there's the CX-60 if you want a nice smooth diesel as well, so there's lots of competition out there. That being said though, if you want a car that looks really good, drives well day to day, has a bit of a sporty flair to it, and overall is practical enough for most of your family needs, then I think this is definitely something to consider. I've been impressed with it, and I was always put off the newer Cupras because of the clunky infotainment and stuff like that, but that seems to have been resolved now. Yes, there is still a bit of a lack of physical controls, but the fact that it's been brought back for the steering wheel, and the steering wheel is one of the best in class, and also they've kind of upgraded this infotainment software to make it more usable, more user-friendly, I definitely think it's all heading in the right direction. I've really enjoyed living with it this last week, and I wouldn't hesitate to have one as my daily driver if I had to choose something in this segment. I do understand that if you've got your head on rather than your heart, you might look into something like a Tucson or a Kia Sportage. One thing I will say though is those cars you wouldn't stop and look back at in a car park as you're walking away, would you? Whereas this I have every single time. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Cupra for sending me out the car. I really do appreciate it. If you want to check out other cars from their range or other cars from this segment, please do look in the links below. And also, if you're looking to lease one of these, there is a link in the description too for finding the best deals. So likes, comments, subscriptions, all greatly appreciated, more than you ever know. So please hit that subscribe button. It goes such a long way. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.